Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 1 Samuel 3. And we see how Samuel here is a young boy. He is still a boy. And the Lord begins to speak to him. And he gets his first prophecy. And this is a prophecy against his teacher, against the man that he knows as a spiritual father. But that's actually what I want to talk about is Eli as a father, as a spiritual father. I want to look at this. Look and see how he dealt with in how he trained Samuel, and look at how he trained his sons and God's response. You see, we know that Eli's sons from the previous chapter, we know that Eli's sons are living in iniquity and that they're doing things they don't need to be doing in the temple and stuff like that. And then we see a picture here how Eli deals with Samuel, and you see that he's patient with Samuel. You see that he actually he teaches Samuel to hear the voice of God. He teaches Samuel to obey the voice of God. He says in verse 9, he says, "Therefore Eli said to Samuel, Go lie down, it shall be, if he calls you, you must say, Speak, for your servant hears." And that's what Samuel did, and he began to hear God and hear the voice of God, and which is really cool. He taught him some great things. But then you see just a couple chapters later, a couple verses later, we're going to pick this up in verse 13. It says, "For I have told him," I meaning God and him meaning Eli, "for I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knows, because his sons made themselves vile." You see, how you train up your children, you see, God will respond to that. And God does not like it when you do not train up your children in the Lord. Men, you all have a responsibility to train up your children in the Lord. You have a responsibility to teach them when they're young to chase after God and chase after his dreams and his destiny for their lives, to chase after his love, to chase after his redemption, to chase after everything he is. We have a responsibility to our children to do that. But God is not coming against him just for that. He's not coming against him just because the kids didn't turn out right. He's not going to come against the house just because of that. See, if you continue reading, it says, "And he did not restrain them." You see, Eli didn't do anything to his children. When his children started going off on the wrong path, he let them go. He didn't teach them to come back. He didn't tell them, hey, what you're doing is wrong. He didn't do all these things. He did not restrain them at all in his house. He exercised zero spiritual authority over his physical children in his home. That is exactly what God says here. He says he did not restrain him. It isn't that they went bad. See, God came against the house of Eli because the children of Eli were bad and Eli did nothing. You see, what we want to focus on is the "and Eli" part. We can go ahead and enter in any one of our names. And Donnie, and Bob, and Joe, and anybody. What did you do when the devil tries to steal your children? What do you do? What do you do when the flesh starts getting the best of your children and they start going the opposite way? What do you do? What do you do when the devil tries to tear your house apart? By sin. I'm not saying by divorce. I'm not saying by separation. I'm saying sin in your house, in your camp. What do you do with it? Do you allow it to stay there, or do you deal with it? And that's what we see from Eli here, is that he did a great job raising Samuel. He did a great job teaching Samuel to hear the Lord and teaching him how to get after God. But he didn't do anything about the sin in his home. And we need to. We need to. God will destroy our families if we allow sin in our home. We have the spiritual authority. Christ gave it to us. He says, I believe it's Luke 10:19, "I give you the power to trample on serpents and scorpions." I give you the power. You see, we have the power in our homes to not allow sin and iniquity come in. We have that power. Do you exercise it? Eli didn't. God said his house will be destroyed. I want you to put in your name. Donnie did or Donnie didn't. Or Donnie is or Donnie isn't. What's going on? Have a super day, guys. I hope I challenged you. Bye.